On Earth, no single habitat exists with just one species. All species on this planet not only coexist, but also depend on each other for their survival. Plants, for instance, need soil microbes to decompose organic matter into inorganic nutrients which are needed for their growth. Also, many plants depend on birds and insects for pollination. Just as plants depend on animals for their existence, animals too depend on plants directly or indirectly for their survival. As a result, in any habitat, plants, animals, and microbes interact in various ways to form a community. When populations of two different species interact, it leads to interspecific interactions. Such interactions may benefit, harm, or have a neutral effect on one or both species. Using a plus sign for beneficial interaction, a minus sign for detrimental or harmful interaction, and a 0 for neutral interaction, the possible outcomes of interspecific interactions is shown in the table. When both species benefit from the interaction, it results in mutualism. On the other hand, if both species lose out during the interaction, it results in competition. In both parasitism and predation, the interspecific interaction benefits one species while it harms the other species. However, when interspecific interaction is beneficial to one species and neutral to the other, the interaction is known as commensalism. On the other hand, if the interaction of one species is harmed and the other is unaffected, the interaction is known as amensalism. Interestingly, a common feature seen in predation, parasitism, and commensalism is that the interacting species live close together. Let's look at predation in detail. When members of one species called the predator feeds on another species called the prey, the interaction is known as predation. For plants, herbivores are the predators, which in turn are predated by carnivores. In fact, predation helps in the transfer of energy from one trophic level to another. Apart from functioning as conduits for energy transfer, predators also help to keep prey populations under control. In some cases, the prey species grows so large that it may cause instability in the ecosystem. For example, due to the absence of natural predators in a specific geographical area, the introduction of an exotic species such as the water hyacinth causes it to grow and spread fast and wide. For example, the introduction of a prickly pear cactus into Australia in the early 1920s created havoc as this plant spread rapidly into millions of hectares of rangeland. The spread was brought under control only after the introduction of a moth, Cactoblastis cactorum, a cactus-feeding predator from South America. Such biological control methods are also used to control agricultural pests. Another function of predators is to help maintain species diversity, thereby minimizing the intensity of competition among competing prey species. For example, a starfish, Pisaster, is an important predator in the rocky intertidal communities on the American Pacific coast. It feeds on a mussel, Mytilus, and is responsible for maintaining the species diversity in intertidal communities. In an experiment, all the starfish were removed from an enclosed area. This resulted in the rapid expansion of the mussel population, and more than 10 invertebrate species became extinct within a year due to interspecific competition. The interaction between Pisaster and Mytilus thus helped maintain the species diversity in these communities. If a predator is highly efficient, it can overexploit its prey, thereby resulting in the extinction of its prey and eventually itself. However, such a situation rarely occurs in nature, as predators are prudent. They do not kill too many prey and leave some for later. Several prey species too have evolved various defenses to lessen the impact of predation. Some species of insects and frogs use camouflage to protect themselves from predators. Moreover, some prey contain poisonous chemicals which keep predators away. For instance, the monarch butterfly contains a chemical that makes it highly distasteful to predator birds. Interestingly, the butterfly acquires this chemical in its caterpillar stage by feeding on a poisonous weed. These are some ways in which animals escape predation. But how do plants protect themselves from predation by herbivores? In fact, nearly 25% of insects are phytophagous, which means they feed on plant sap and other plant parts. Therefore, plants have developed a variety of morphological and chemical defense mechanisms against herbivores. The presence of thorns and spines is the most common morphological means of defense in some plants like acacia and cactus. Also, a few plants like Calotropis and some fungi have chemical defense mechanisms which include the production of harmful and distasteful chemicals. These chemicals make the herbivore sick, inhibiting its digestion, impacting its reproduction, and sometimes may even kill the predator. In fact, the Calotropis plant produces a highly poisonous cardiac glycoside, which is why animals don't consume this plant. Did you know that a wide variety of chemicals such as nicotine, caffeine, quinine, and opium extracted for commercial purposes are actually produced by plants as defenses against grazers? Therefore, in nature, species not only coexist, but also show various interspecific interactions, predation being the most common.